beg the legal evidence to this effect. You guys changed it. They went back after the fact and changed the rate to remove the administrative presence. So understand why I'm a little more than upset with St. Louis. Oh, she's an attorney. My daughter isn't.
Oh, okay.
How, let me ask you this. Here's another interesting question. You guys are St. Louis real estate?
Just like I'm outside counsel, so I don't work for St. Louis.
Okay, what about that parcel in Town that you're developing right adjacent, 78?
That's Lehigh Valley Hospital, Jefferson, right near the sheep. That's Lehigh Valley Hospital. You're talking about the one by the sheep?
I thought that was you guys.
No, that is Lehigh Valley Hospital
That's
right by
Lehigh
the
Valley
sheep. In fact, I was there this morning for a tour, and it is Lehigh Valley Hospital 100%. There's no question.
And I need to address my concern with that.
Okay.
The activity use limitation registry should have more indication with that development, and the site contractor did not follow protocol when it came to raising and
You're talking about the old battery property. Yeah, that's
there's
definitely
circular
Lehigh Valley.
protocol on how that's supposed to be both raised and the post, the certificates that are supposed to be posted, who's going to transport, where it's going
I
to go.
don't know anything about it.
They didn't do anything.
Yeah, all I know is it's Lehigh Valley Hospital.
Come up with that.
Yeah.
But a healthcare institution, why would they get away with that? You look at any of the developments.
I don't know.
Look at the PA.gov, go into the limitation registry, and look at the Bethlehem Steel land development, and you will see extensive limitations that specifically for the same kind of single concern, single contaminant concern, limit specifically hospitals being used on those properties. How the heck they get away with that?
I do not know.
I'll find out.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Today is March 26, 2026. And we have a roll call. Jennifer Peters. Here. Thomas Bartek. Here. Veronica Bress.
Here.
Schwab Township. Alexandra Chanchik. Here. That is everyone? Yeah. All right. Are we not expecting?
Schwab said he may have had a conflict, so he wasn't going to come unless we needed him for the quorum.
Okay, so we have enough for a quorum?
Yes.
All right, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I just wanted to note that I'll plan on recusing myself. There's no conflict of interest.
for the St. Luke's Medical Office discussion.
Correct.
We're still good with the quorum.
Yes, so to be clear, we have a quorum to start the meeting. We have a quorum to start the meeting, which means we can officially move forward. And then if someone has to recuse, like Jennifer has to recuse, that's fine, but we still have the quorum and we're ready to go. So it doesn't affect us in any way.
All right, first we have public comments, citizen agenda items. All right, now we have the business items, and today we have St. Luke's Medical Office and Land Development.
Chair?
Yes.
Do we get to speak?
And if there's public comments, yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
My name is David Boulan. I'm absolutely pleased to be here tonight. I have no vested interest in this aside from being a citizen. I am blown away by how complete the reports are, the back and forth between the engineers, the answers, how crystal clear it is, and all of the drawings that you've included. I had to laugh because I picked up the main agenda and I thought, oh, it's just an agenda and they'll talk about everything here. No, you have everything in it. It's so complete, thorough, well done by both sides that I'm absolutely excited to hear how it goes tonight, the back and forth. And the attorneys that are in front of us are obviously, have been here before, very good. So I appreciate having an open forum like this.
And did you state your name?
David Boulin, B-O-U-L-I-N.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Oh, and sorry, and your address?
Well, we don't do,
We
the
don't-
laws changed a little bit, so we don't ask for specific addresses as long as they're Lower Saucon residents.
Okay,
So we can't make them. You can volunteer it if they want, but no one's making you do that.
it's up to you if
But
you,
I'll see Molly later.
okay.
My name is Robert Osman. I am a resident in Lower Saucon Township. I guess my only concern tonight is somewhat of a political nature, but it regards to what is at hand. We are on the verge of losing 20% of our council, of our district revenue, of the township revenue, by closing the landfill. That seems to be council's direction. We are now bringing in something that will use our facilities, but is tax exempt and generate no revenue for the township. As a resident, I would suggest you consider an impact fee. It's a one-time thing, and you could do this in a recommendation to the council, but know that we will be watching how you spend our money. And there are a lot of problems right now with division in this country politically. I'm not sure what's going to happen. Fortunately, I'm well enough off that if it goes south, I'll leave.
Thank you.
And I'm seeing no problem, no further public. We can move
Okay.
to the agenda items.
All right, let's proceed with the item number 3, St. Luke's. All right. Do you
Okay.
have something you would like to present today?
I do, I have,
Do we have names first?
sure, I will get to, so I'm Scott Pastersky with Keystone Consulting Engineers, the site engineer for the project.
Kate Durso from Fitzpatrick, Lentz and Buba.
Yeah, Mary J. McKeever from St. Luke's University Health Network.
And I do have a few boards to show they're identical to what's going to be on the screen, but I don't have a pointer, so I might be pointing with my hands from time to time to point out some plan items. So I'm going to just cue this up and we can get started. Is everyone able to see both the screen and the plan adequately?
Okay.
I'm not sure why we're getting feedback. I don't know if anyway, so we've been before this planning commission before for this project. It's the medical office building on Leesville Road, right across from the Giant Shopping Center. Yes. Oh, even better. Thank you.
Thanks, Mom.
Thank you. It was November of 2024, the last time we appeared before the planning commission. We had a pretty lengthy, I think, very productive discussion. In between now and then, we've been very busy on various aspects of the project, some of which, not the least of which, has been addressing some of the considerations that the Planning Commission had mentioned with regards to pedestrian mobility and connectivity and things of that nature. So you'll see that in the presentation in just a moment. And also most notably with our PennDOT and roadway design. Again, that will come out as well. It's been 18 months. We are in receipt of Hanover's March 20th letter. I can just say right off the bat, we have no issue complying with that letter. We actually plan to meet with the township engineer just for clarity on comments, not because we have an issue with them, but just to make sure we're on the same page and we work efficiently. Hopefully in the next week or so, we'll be able to accomplish that. However, tonight, we would like to just kind of walk you through the plan. Some of it will be redundant. I think you'll see that the majority of the plan did not change at all. It looks exactly the same. There are some subtle nuances, I think, all for the better that we'll point out as well. And as we do that, I will also, I'll just step it through one by one. And it's been almost 18 months. I think everyone could use a refresher, so I don't think it'll be time not well spent. So, oh, and also I will be getting to the waiver and deferrals. We want to have a detailed discussion about that as well, because we had several of those that we will be needing to support the project. So to start off, the plan that's on the screen and the plan to my left, your right, you can see it looks pretty much the same. We have the exact same proposed building. It's a 30,000 square foot medical office building. It's built on 3 levels. The first 2 would be medical office space and programming. The bottom level would be primarily covered parking for 29 parking spaces. There'd also be an entrance vestibule to obviously convey staff and patients to the upper levels, and that's identical. The parking and surrounding site infrastructure is also identical. We have 150 parking spaces required, and we're also providing 150 parking spaces. And since last time, we had identified, or the township engineer had identified, several items of zoning relief related to natural resource disturbance. Since then, in December of '24, we appeared before the zoning hearing board and unanimously voted that relief was granted. It was the zoning hearing board's decision, and nothing on the current revised plan changes that decision. Numerically, it's the same. There's no impact to that approval would still be valid. With regards to the site access improvements, as before, we're building a high volume driveway footprint for several reasons, one of which is because it mirrors the giant shopping center driveway across the street. However, if you look at the traffic volume counts, it only needs to be a medium volume driveway. So we're overbuilding the driveway. We're building more driveway than we need to and provide more channelization, more protection of movements, better ability for pedestrians to walk through the intersection, partly to mirror. It's just better planning and better engineering, frankly. To do that, also, we do have an eye toward the future. That at some point in time, I know the township's been interested in pursuing a potential connection to Springtown Hill Road at some point. So basically, this project cues that up, if you will. It gets it all ready to go. And at some point, there would be some additional traffic headed to that intersection, if that ever occurred in the future, in which case it would be ready to go and we wouldn't have to rebuild later. And again, St. Luke's is volunteering this above and beyond the minimum requirements. With that said, some other notable items on the PennDOT design. I'm losing my microphone. Basically, the traffic signal would be a new signal. We would plan to reuse some elements if they were adequate, such as the controller, but the mast arms are out of date. They would be up there not long enough to support these widening improvements. You see we have 2 pedestrian crossings. That was one of the concerns of the Planning Commission last time. 2 pedestrian crossings that will have new handicap ADA accessible ramps on both sides, 2 places to cross, and current with all current standards. And in addition, pedestrian countdown timers, the latest and greatest. So it's essentially going to be a new signal. In addition to that, for the roadway, there's no current traffic conditions. There's no right turn lane required. However, we're providing a 200-foot right turn lane, again, with an eye to the future. And the left turn lane is required by the current traffic proposed. However, we've lengthened it by 25 feet longer. We basically maxed out the left turn lane as much as the gore striping would allow us to do to maximize that in anticipation of what it could be in the future if that project did happen. So moving on to that, and I just wanted to make a note. All of this is, yes, it is to support the St. Luke's development, but it's also to do several things for the community. Like I mentioned several times, queuing up the future connection to Springtown Hill Road, but also it does a much needed refresh in a lot of those older facilities. I know as a traffic engineer, I'm looking at the flanges on the bottom of the poles. There are 4 bolts, that's the old pattern. Now they require 6. So you're gonna have a much more robust and modernized and sturdy signal that's up to date with all the latest standards. So again, it's $2.25 million investment that St. Luke's would be making, and that's from a site contract. It's not an engineer's estimate. I have nothing against engineers, but we're not the best cost estimators. This is an actual bona fide site work contractor provided that as a budgetary estimate for all this road work that you're seeing here, basically from this point in the driveway and up on 412. And it would, again, benefit St. Luke's and the community at large. Now I'm gonna change my plan, and if This plan sheet, Polly, would be.
Just to quick confirm that you have a left and right turn lane on Laysville Road going both directions?
Oh, yes, correct. There's a left turn here going both north and south.
Okay.
And I neglected to mention, thank you for saying that, per PennDOT's requirement or request, i.e. requirement, if you know PennDOT, we did also have to add exclusive left turn lanes, which widen the driveway substantially. So you'll notice that pushes the improvements onto the giant shopping center driveway. St. Luke's has been in discussions with the property owner of the shopping center and is ongoing. We would, obviously, several comments in the letter refer to agreements and approvals and easements. We understand that. St. Luke's would be constructing all these improvements, and they've had some, I believe, some pretty positive coordination so far with the shopping center owner.
Okay.
Any other questions before I move to another aspect? Okay. With regards to water and sewer, as you might have guessed, blue is water. It's the same plan that's in the plan set. It's plan sheet 5, but we just added some highlighting for conspicuity. The water line, there's existing water on the west side of Leesville Road. We would propose to cross under Leesville Road, either probably a boring, the PennDOT would not allow us to open cut that, and service the facility. Fire hydrants located in accordance with the fire chief's direction. And then that's all we would have to do to service our facility. However, the Lower Saucon Authority requested that we consider extending the main, as I'm trying to sketch out with my finger, to create a loop system. I mean, it's a better flow. You have less stagnant water and things like that. St. Louis considered that and has agreed to offer that as a matter of goodwill. That would, the delta, not the total cost, but the additional cost to St. Luke's that they'd be volunteering is approximately $130,000. And again, that's in accordance with the site work contractor's budgetary estimate. And with regards to sanitary sewer, similarly, we could have served it running up through the right-of-way to a point where I can't reach on the plan to my far left at the intersection of Springtown Hill Road and Leesville Road, or in that vicinity. It would have been a shorter run of pipe, less cost, but Lower Saucon Authority requested that we consider running the lateral through what used to be the Hay property is now St. Luke's property, through here and extending the main up Springtown Hill Road. And one of the main benefits of that is it allows residents of Penrose Street and it's Penrose and Pearson Avenue, if they ever wanted to hook up, would now have access to hook up to the public sewer. So again, St. Luke's is willing to do that as a matter of goodwill. The additional cost in order to go above and beyond what the minimum requirement would be was about $200,000, actually $206,000 per contractor's estimate. With regards to stormwater management, I'm going to flip the plan again. Really nothing has changed. I mean, the site grading, it has been designed to capture the water that generally flows upward on the plan in that direction, collected into a series of storm inlets and pipes, and convey it to a singular combined detention and infiltration facility. With this most recent submission, the calculations were updated to include all the additional widening that PennDOT was requiring and that St. Luke's volunteered to do. Well, some of that was already in there, but the additional PennDOT requirements, it's been updated to include that. So no change to the approach on stormwater management. It's just simply been revised to accommodate the new widening. Hanover did have several comments regarding stormwater. We've reviewed them. We have no issue. We're going to meet, like I said, to clarify those and get those taken care of. So with regards to landscaping, we're meeting township requirements. And I apologize, I don't have a landscaping plan on the board, but we had extensive screening in here that one of the planning commission's concerns previously was to do that, and that's still proposed. When we get to waivers and deferrals, we are asking for a deferral for some of the street trees along Springtown Hill Road for reasons that I'll explain at that time when we get there. But I probably should have a visual, but there's a lot of landscaping on the site. We've taken some of the existing trees down, but we're putting back a ton of landscaping. I think if you don't mind scrolling to the plan, it is in the set. I think it might be the next one down the way there. Actually, the one before that. No. Okay, thank you. Keep going. After the profiles, maybe. There we go. Every circle is a tree or a shrub or a bush or something, so it's going to be very vegetated and very green, and pretty much almost, I mean this tongue in cheek, but every square inch, not literally, but figuratively, we've put in a good amount of trees on the site. Site lighting, also, we are providing, in accordance with township standards, a couple comments in Hanover's letter that we have no issue complying with, that will just make minor tweaks to the design, and that will be fully compliant. As far as, in addition to the township land development approval that we will be seeking, or that we are seeking, we have several outside agencies that are in various stages of development. We have a fully completed NPDES permit package application ready to go. It's just simply not out the door yet. Next week or two, we'll get that submitted, but it's completed. It's just waiting on a couple administrative items to be able to submit. We have made a full PennDOT HOP submission, I think it was last week. That included highway occupancy permit plans, right-of-way acquisition plans, stormwater management, traffic signal plans, traffic signal construction plans, traffic signal report, a full traffic impact study. So other than some of the, PennDOT requires a lot of documentation. Not all of it was included, but the substance of it was there. And so we're looking to expedite that PennDOT approval as much as possible. We actually had a Act 167 approval letter from the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission based on the prior design. Hanover's requested that we re-up that approval, which we fully agree with and plan to do, to accommodate the changes in the design due to the road modifications that we just discussed. Also, we will need a sewage facilities planning module, and we were actually just able to determine our expected sewage flows based on water usage records from similar St. Luke's facilities. We anticipate 350 gallons per day would be required for the site, which equates by the township's calculation to 1.4 EDUs. So again, that's hasn't been, it should be submitted probably within the next week. Speaking with our sewer engineer actually today about that, but it is not submitted yet. So with that said, with regards to the letter, I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone, maybe I should probably pause and take a breath before we get into the letter and the waivers, which might get a little technical. Maybe I'll pause and take a breath to see if anybody has any questions so far.
No.
Okay.
We're good to go.
Okay. So the only comment I wanted to point attention to with regards to the letter would be...
Besides the waivers.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yes, besides the waivers. Several comments related to the waivers. But I want to just kind of take care of these two comments first.
And you're talking about the March 20th.
Yes, on Hanover's March 20th letter. It's comments related to A6 and C8, which regard the future dedication of the driveway if and when the Springtown connection occurs. So we would be willing on this plan, like I said, we're queuing this up. We'd place a note on the plan with, proper verbiage agreeable to the solicitor and to St. Luke's legal counsel, stating that St. Luke's would be willing to dedicate that right-of-way if the township ever wanted it. If that connection was ever made and the township wanted to take that road and dedicate it as a public street, it would be queued up and ready to go, and that note would be on the plan of record. So just an extension of what I was saying before. And the other comment I wanted to address with regards to all the work on the Giant Shopping Center property, and I guess I already did address it, that's all ongoing. We do realize several comments in Hanover's letter referred to getting easements and agreements, and we have our attorney, and we have all that under the, St. Luke's has been dealing with them. All that we understand that will be a condition of the approval, and that will all be provided.
Yeah, and we will also address the comment regarding the parking that we were shown on the plan as being relocated within the front yard setback of the Giant, to figure out a different way to address the parking that we're taking away.
Yeah, it was the very last comment of the letter. What we had initially did is we made the driveway in the Giant Shopping Center wider. We had to juggle a little bit the existing parking spaces, and Hanover correctly pointed out that we ended up putting parking in the front yard setback, which is not allowed by zoning. We looked at that and we reviewed that. We feel we can do it another way. We can basically skinny up the driveway a little bit and provide sidewalk directly to the stores. So we can engineer a way out of that problem. So that won't be a zoning issue. So if there's any other questions on the letter before we move to waivers and deferrals.
Which property is currently, besides the property you're building on, what properties are currently under ownership of St. Luke's?
There's actually, well, this is probably not the best plan to look at. Just trying to draw this main property out here, and there's a little in parcel here. This is owned by St. Luke's, this kind of a, whatever shape that is, quadrilateral or something. The skewed rectangular portion is owned by St. Luke's. The property that surrounds, this is not St. Luke's, but the property that surrounds that is owned by St. Luke's. And this property here was actually in the deed, it was actually 3 parcels, but it was 1 property owner. So these 3 are also now in possession of St. Luke's. This plan proposes to consolidate all those lots into a single lot. The total combined acreage is 6.11 acres when that's all said and done from various pieces.
Yeah.
Okay to move on to waivers and deferrals? Okay, so I did issue a revised waiver deferral request letter today in response to Hanover's letter. We had pointed out there's 2 waivers that we needed to get in the letter that weren't there. The majority of the letter is identical. The only comments, the only waivers we added was on the very first waiver. It's a letter dated March 26th that was just issued today. I have extra copies if anybody needs them. And it's the first waiver added was with regards to we're requesting a preliminary final plan approval rather than making separate submissions and approvals. We'd like to combine those into one. Since the project is not proposed to be phased, we see no value in dragging it out into 2 approval processes. And the very last comment in Hanover's letter, they are in agreement that as regards to soil augers that are typically required by the ordinance. Hanover's in agreement that we provided a justification that they are not needed based on the testing that's already been done on the site, which Hanover's office did witness. So we've added those 2. The others are identical. They haven't changed the letter. So it's not a bunch of new waivers, it's just those 2. So want to just chip these off one at a time?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Yes.
Perhaps what we could do is, what might be helpful also is perhaps, Andrew, if you could either do this now or later, but tell us our Hanover's position with regard to the waivers.
Should we do them individually?
Do you want to go to each one?
That's
Yeah.
fine, I just didn't want to do this twice, in the sense of
Yeah.
have them do it, then have Andrew do it, then have them do it, and we go back.
Well, we'll just go over one at a time and we'll have an open discussion on each one.
Okay, very good. So the first one, and I'll number these as we go. Number 1 is regarding the requirement to do separate preliminary and final plan submissions would request a combined preliminary final submission and an ultimate approval. Based on the fact that this project is not phased, we see no value in separating into multiple final approvals.
So Andrew, do you have any issues?
No, this is something that we've done in the past. It's not new, especially when it's a relatively simple project, if that is the right explanation for it, but yeah.
Should I continue, or do you want a discussion? Okay.
Fill out the paperwork and pay the fees for final then.
They would, I think, yes.
Okay.
Say it again, I'm sorry.
You'll need to fill out the application for final and pay the additional fees for final.
Oh,
So noted. The next couple are just some drafting waivers, and I believe at the Planning Commission last time, you can certainly evaluate it fresh now, but I think none of these were issues prior, but we'll, nonetheless, let's look at them afresh. The requirement for either a 24 by 36 inch plan size or a 36 inch by 48 plan size. We propose right in the middle of that a 30 by 42, which is standard plan size needed to support the drawing scale. It's just a matter of practicality. It works better. So we didn't see any harm in doing that if there's no objection.
No objection.
Okay, the third waiver on the page, number 3. And there is a requirement to depict all existing features within 500 feet of any part of the land to be developed. We've just surveyed the area where improvements are proposed. We don't see any value that the areas outside of that area would provide. The plans that we have are sufficient to support the proposed improvements, facilitate plan review, and ultimately construction of the improvements.
Yeah, I think this is a standard one that is
This
usually
is another
asked.
standard one. There were a couple comments in our last letter in regards to the existing storm sewer system that you plan to tie into on Lightsville Road, and just showing a little bit more detail in that regards. Did you plan to do that then as part of your next submission?
We will definitely do that, yes.
Okay.
Flipping the page, number 4. Should I be reading the section numbers? Is that going to help for minutes or anything? Okay. Do I need to backtrack and read the sections?
No,
okay.
no.
All right. Just checking. All right. Number 4, section 145-33C2. It's a requirement to depict existing contours within 250 feet of the site. Same justification. We believe what we've shown is adequate to design the plans, review the plans, and build the improvements.
This is another standard waiver. I'm sure you've seen it before.
Okay. Moving on to sections 145-41B4, section 145-45B4 lowercase a, 145-45-45B9, and 145-45G2, which is a requirement to provide below the certain frontage improvements on various roadways. So as I pointed at this plan, we have Mount Pleasant Road, plan south, which actually would be to the east, and we have Springtown Hill Road, and we have a frontage here, and we have a frontage on what used to be the Hay property, where can't quite reach there, but where the St. Luke's property after consolidation would touch. Those by ordinance would require certain criteria and improvements to the cartway width, the right-of-way, curbing, and so forth. I've listed them all out here, that what is currently there versus what is required, and it doesn't match. Some things match, or they kind of match, and some things flat out don't match. We agree that at some point in time, that cartway width would need to be provided. You know, the curbing may be justified, sidewalk and things like that, but since the existing conditions on either side of those frontages don't have those improvements, we feel it would be out of place and inconsistent to provide those at this time. It would create a disconnected set of improvements that could cause confusion if all of a sudden the road gets wider and there's curbing and then there's no curb and there's a strip of sidewalk that doesn't go anywhere. We feel it'd be much more appropriate to request a deferral, and then at such time when the township deems necessary to improve that whole road, at that time call in the deferral, at which time the improvements could be coordinated and integrated with a larger township project.
And the deferral is for both along Mount Pleasant Road frontage and the Spring Hill Road
Yes,
frontage.
I lumped them together because it's essentially the same argument, and I have all kinds of details in there, but that's the gist of it.
And how are we? What?
No, I was gonna ask, do we foresee any issues with this, kind of like each proposal for existing road is, 5 to plus feet narrower than the code calls for? If we're anticipating any kind of like further development there, do we foresee any kind of issues with roads being so narrow?
So unfortunately, St. Luke's, if you were to deny the deferral or the request to deny it, they would only be required to do the road improvements along their frontages. So there's large parcels in between their property that are currently too narrow. The reason, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but the reason they're requesting a deferral is if the road were to be improved in the other locations, then they would then be required to make those improvements along the remaining frontage. So I don't see any issues with deferral in that regards.
Okay. Any other questions on that one? All right, proceed.
Okay. Now, the next one is regarding the Leesville Road frontage, which is the larger frontage. Again, it's classified as an arterial roadway. And there's requirements for a 12-foot travel lane, a 10-foot parking gutter lane, concrete curb and sidewalk. And so this one's a little more complicated, and we are asking for waivers to some items, deferrals for others, so I'll take these one at a time. With regards to travel lane width, shoulder width, curbing, these are design elements that are controlled by PennDOT. Anything done on there is in a state highway, it's PennDOT's jurisdiction. So therefore, we're requesting a waiver to those, since PennDOT has the ultimate authority to determine what gets built and what doesn't get built. Right now, there's roadside swales conveying the water, so curbing really wouldn't be consistent with the area. And the design that we have here is consistent with what's out there. And again, it's something that it meets PennDOT criteria, or admittedly does not meet township criteria, but since PennDOT holds the gavel, if you will, on that one, we are requesting a waiver. So comments on that before I go on to the next element.
My recommendation to the planning commission would be, although they are correct, without question, it's a PennDOT road and PennDOT controls these things. My suggestion would be you might want to consider a deferral rather than a waiver, which at least allows the township to have some control. Ultimately, if there's a conflict between what the township wants and what PennDOT wants, we're not going to win that battle. But nonetheless, it provides us with some options.
Understand.
Anything else?
I'm in agreement with what Steve said.
Okay.
Okay. So moving on, with regards to sidewalk, there's a portion of the sidewalk on either plan, and by the way, I did read the sections. But a portion of the sidewalk along the Leesville Road frontage, you'll notice these grayed out areas here that are shown conceptually, and also right here. Those are areas where there is no sidewalk on either side, to the north or to the south. They're not integral to the development that needs to occur now. We would request deferrals for those sidewalks, fully intending to build them when the time is right, when there's a project where there's a place to go. Hanover made a comment about providing detailed designs of those sidewalks now, and we're totally fine with doing that. So we'll provide the construction backup and documents, so when that deferral would be called in, they could be constructed. So that's the next element of this request.
Why don't you do the waiver for the location together?
Got it. Yeah. Okay, now, at our last meeting 15 months ago, we had a pretty lengthy discussion about the location of the sidewalk, because the sidewalk that we are proposing to build is right along this frontage here, and it dives into the PennDOT ramp right here. Now, the ordinance requires the sidewalk to be 1 foot into the right-of-way, and we're proposing it in this location. And the discussion we had at the Planning Commission last time was, where is the best place for that sidewalk? Should we force it to go down there? Someone brought up the term retaining wall, and at the end of the day, the sentiment or the recollection I had and that we all had was that this was in a good location. It's something St. Luke's has done before. We have very steep grades out here, and I did bring some pictures along that I could hand out. Another St. Luke's facility that they had constructed where the grades were very, very steep and a factor in the design. It didn't make sense to put the sidewalk where the ordinance required it, and we pulled the sidewalk onto the private property, would provide any easements to the township, obviously, is needed there to do that. The other concern with, someone mentioned putting a wall. If you put a retaining wall there, it becomes a hazard. Someone could get pinned between, a pedestrian could get pinned between the wall and a car in an accident. So that's something we didn't feel was the right way to do it. It's a requirement on paper. It gets the pedestrians far away from the travel lane, but not so far that it becomes an unwalkable path or something that people aren't going to do, right? If it's, people typically want to go the straightest path possible, but this provides a straight enough path, but at a safe distance from traffic. So in light of that, we are proposing to build the sidewalk. We're just asking for a waiver to the location of the sidewalk to be as shown. I'd say it's approximately 15 foot off the back of the ultimate right-of-way.
What's the height difference of that sidewalk to the road?
It's about, it's about 7 to 8 feet, just eyeballing the contours.
So it's 7 feet, 8 feet higher,
Correct. This sidewalk is about 7 to 8 foot higher than the road elevation.
safer, okay.
And there's a roadside drainage
safe.
swale right here as well.
And the reason we are asking for a waiver of it, because it is a design element rather than a deferral, because, yeah, so we would design it to make sure it could work, yes, exactly.
Just so the rest of the commission is clear on this and what they're asking for, and they've done a good job of explaining it, I just want to be sure we're all on the same page, is that they're waiving the location, they're asking the location of the sidewalk be changed to somewhere else, further, essentially further away from the street for all the reasons they said. It is not a waiver of the obligation to build the sidewalk. They still have to build the sidewalk, they still have to design it and plan it, it's just gonna be simply in a different location.
Yes.
So I don't want anybody to walk away or the record to be unclear. It's not a waiver to actually build the sidewalk, it's just it's a waiver of where the sidewalk is located.
Yeah, yes.
I remember this conversation 2 years ago, and we have a lengthy conversation about the sidewalk, and we even, you showed us pictures of how it looks, and yes, I think we're much better, yeah.
Oh, Andrew?
I have nothing further to say on that.
Okay. All right, that takes care of that item, I believe. Make sure there's nothing else in there. Okay, that's it. The next waiver is requirement to provide street trees along Springtown Hill Road.
What? 145.
145-52B. And that would be along this property right here. Now, I mentioned earlier that we are providing robust vegetation and screening along this frontage because we feel it provides a practical benefit to shield any residents here, and that was the Planning Commission's concern, that this view of the hospital is screened. What's between this frontage here and the development is a heavily wooded area. So it's both two things. One is the fact that the vegetation is there that screens the view, and obviously would screen more during the summer months when there's leaves and such, less during the winter months, but there's heavy vegetation in there, so it appears. And the distance, the sheer distance from here to here is substantial. I think even called out the distance, not that it's that critical. But for those reasons, we feel a deferral would be more appropriate. And similarly to the, the other deferrals we asked along that frontage, till you know where the sidewalk's gonna go, you really don't wanna be putting a tree there until, it's a kind of a domino
Those
situation.
mostly deciduous trees in the heavily wooded area.
Yeah, the ones that are mapped there are the ones that have trunks diameters of 6 inches or greater. There's some, so the ones that you see as the circular objects have a more robust trunk. The others are various degrees of scrub and other things like that.
And just to be clear, when you started your presentation on this issue, you said the word waiver. I don't think you meant the word waiver, I think you meant the word deferral.
Deferral.
I meant the word deferral, thank you.
And what you indicated after that and what your letter says deferral. I just want to be clear.
Thank you.
Andrew?
We do not object to a deferral of that.
Okay, and then we just have one more, which is what I already mentioned, section 137, appendix G, which is the requirement to conduct soil auger testing for infiltration facilities. So the soil probes that were conducted meet and exceed the requirements of appendix G. They've been performed, they've been observed by the Township Engineer's Office, and in the Hanover's March 20th letter, they indicated that our justification to not do those auger tests is warranted. So that's our justification for that one.
I think we're good with that one.
Yeah, there was extensive test pits done in that location, and our office was out there to witness the testing and thought soil augering would not be of any benefit in this regards.
Very good.
And that was the last one.
Did you jot all those down?
I did my best.
So what waivers did we have, what were they asking for?
So if you look at their waiver request letter of March 26, 2026, I believe if we were to address the waiver separately, we would grant, and waivers and deferrals separately, we would grant them the waiver with regard to the location of the proposed sidewalk. We would grant their request for deferrals, and any other additional requests for waivers would only be deferrals. And then we would grant the remaining waiver, or the rest of the remaining waiver and deferral requests, with the express condition that they have to pay all outstanding fees, including the fees for final land development.
Does anybody have any questions?
No, I like that the sidewalks in the front to go in the future is deferred, but to be done in the future, only because you don't know what's happening down there. It makes no sense to.
North and south of there.
Right,
Yeah.
it makes no sense to do them yet, until you make until you know what it's connecting to.
Right.
So, I understand that,
And you did explain everything very well.
yes.
Would we do one motion for all of these, or we're gonna do separate motions?
For the waivers, I think one motion and.
So we would do just what Molly suggested. We would do one motion for the waivers and then one motion for your recommendation. So if someone was willing to make a motion based on what I previously indicated, and if you want, do you want me to do it again?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's make it official.
If someone, slowly. If someone is willing to make a motion as follows. With regard to the request from Keystone Consulting Engineering dated March 26, 2026, to grant a waiver only for the location for the proposed sidewalk, and then to grant the deferrals requested and to grant no further waivers, just waiting, and then to grant all the other requests with the condition that the applicant pay all applicable fees, which include the fees for final plan approval.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
You have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right.
And then if you're inclined, the next one would be if we want to make a motion with regard to the actual recommendation of the planning commission. And if someone was inclined to make a motion to recommend approval as requested, conditioned on the Hanover engineering letter dated March 20, 2026, with the following conditions. The applicant would have to specifically note on the plan pursuant to section A6 relating to the future dedication of the driveway to the satisfaction of township staff, the solicitor, and the engineer. It would also be conditional on all third-party approvals, and it would also be conditional on addressing all outstanding issues with regard to third-party lands, such as the giant shopping center.
I'll make a motion.
You have a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right.
Before we close, anything else from the applicant?
No,
We thank you.
Thank you very much.
when should they expect to go to council? It's not a rush, it's just for scheduling purposes to make sure.
I think they will probably discuss it at the staff meeting. Will you be submitting any revisions or anything?
Should we present this plan or should we present?
Yeah, you tell us.
Probably a clean cut plan would be
What's
best
that?
for council, correct?
At the end, yes.
You want,
And Andy,
we're just asking for next steps,
wouldn't
whether,
a clean cut plan be better to be submitted for going to council?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree
Okay.
with that. And
okay, so we'll submit the revised plan, then ultimately you'll tell us when they would be on the council agenda.
Right.
Okay.
could we get an updated deferral and waiver letter as well, based off of the recommendations that?
Oh, okay, yeah, we'll revise it based on that, yeah, gotcha,
Thank you.
yep,
Got it.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, you good?
Yep.
Okay,
Thank you all very much, appreciate it.
thank you. Next item on the agenda is miscellaneous business item, zoning ordinance amendment, removal of Appendix A, discussion and recommendation. You had some comments you wanted to mention on this one.
I did. This was brought before the Township Council at a prior meeting. As part of what we're going through, we're realizing that there's some loose end issues that haven't been resolved or were never addressed. So there's an Exhibit A to the zoning, which is essentially a chart for permitted uses. And the problem is the chart is supposed to be updated every time there's a change in the zoning. But the reality is it was not happening. So the chart was always 1 or 2 or 3 steps behind. And it got to the point where we were just, staff wasn't catching up, things were being missed, and so on and so forth. It's easier to simply just get rid of the chart itself. So that was the recommendation from staff, the recommendation from the engineer. That chart is Exhibit A, and the idea is we just simply, strike it and don't use it anymore.
So I imagine the intent of the chart was to make things easier.
Yes, the
But
result of the chart was to make it much more complicated.
Yeah,
confusing.
so, okay.
Good
But other than that,
intentions.
there's no information on the chart that's not readily available.
Correct. The
in the
chart
document.
was simply a compilation, should have been a compilation of what the zoning ordinance was at that time, but it just didn't work.
So what we're looking here is for someone to motion to remove the Exhibit A and the Appendix A, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I'll make the motion to remove it, please.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? 0. Okay. All right, so the next item on the agenda is public comments. You're welcome to step up again. State your name again.
Again, my name is Robert Osman. I am a resident in Lower Saucon Township. I hate to sound like a wet towel, but nobody else brings this stuff up. Is Planning Commission a paid position? Do you guys get a fee for service?
No.
Serve at will. Just pro bono, very much like school board. Then bear in mind some of the comments that I'm making are for concern because of your position. When I was on school board, we had a number of cases where we were taken to court, federal and local court. And what we found is that the tort immunity protected us up until it provided counsel for us. In that case, it was PSBA counsel. We had a JAG attorney who served for PSBA. He also was a Navy officer. And as he instructed us, you guys have coverage up until the point of a guilty verdict. Then you're on your own, and you're responsible for any legal fees, fines, any other costs related to any wrongdoing that you have done. Now, I mention that because, I have several concerns about this, and I understand you're going to approve it, and there's a bigger issue, I think, than the hospital, although the hospital is part of it. First of all, it seems almost that there's a race. I wonder who this is going to serve. We have a Lehigh Valley healthcare facility down the road. My daughter lives up in Mount Pocono, so I have occasion to go up 33 and take back roads there. And it surprises me when I get off of 33 and take the back roads, how many remote facilities the healthcare industry has built. And I wonder where the money is coming from. Now, I gotta tell you, I have owned my own business. The largest one, I employed over 150 people at one point, some time ago, but I know how to run a business. I know what's involved. I know how to operate a budget. And our country scares me at this point. I look at New York City and I see that they have been downgraded 2 classes on their bonds. I can tell you right now, I don't want any long-term paper in this country. I would not buy anything more than a 90-day treasury note because I don't have confidence that municipal or state is in a strong position to pay, and they're subordinated to any federal debt. And look at what the federal debt's at. Where is the money coming from to cover all this health care that we're building, as well as the impact? If you think for a minute that they're gonna come in here and not have any impact on the community, I mean, there's a whole bunch of reasons you could look at this and say, oh, it's close to the school, if something happens, well, yeah, but so is Lehigh Valley Healthcare. You know, and no offense to the officials that are sitting here, they get paid. When things go south, they're still in the fight. They collect their fee until it's settled. And you say, well, what could go wrong? Look at Colorado right now. Look at the Colorado Compact. If you haven't followed it, by the end of 26, they have to resolve a water shortage. The joint capacity between Glen Canyon Dam and Lake Mead is under 29%. Glen Canyon's slated to go to dead pool in 2 years. No water into the Grand Canyon. And Phoenix and Arizona get all their water from Lake Mead. So what's gonna happen? What do you guys think, no offense to the attorneys, but what do you guys think those 25 million people who draw their water out of there are gonna do when they wake up one day and have no water? And their real estate is worthless? How nice are they going to be? I would not want to be in a position to have to defend that. The federal government has known about this diminishing requirement for 20 years, and they've done nothing. If there's any case for interstate commerce, this is it. This is purely interstate commerce, and the federal government said, no, the compact is gonna decide. They made their decisions 100 years ago on faulty data, on a very wet season that actually was about 30–35% more water than really flows down that river. Now you say, well, what's the case there? I think they had a lot more experts than we do on local small projects. And they're not the only ones. Lake Okeechobee, same problem. They're having a lot of problems with fish kill and vegetation to try and sustain the ecosystem because for 100 years, they've done too much oversubscription. They've had too much agricultural runoff go into that dam, and now the Army Corps of Engineers decided they lower the level to try and stimulate vegetation, and they stirred up the sediment, and they created algae bloom and fish kill on the two rivers that the gates on the Lake Okeechobee feed into. So we really don't know what we're doing. Army Corps, and these are our best experts, same thing. In the Mississippi, they are losing a lot of water in the Tennessee Valley right now. They don't know where it's going. Texas has a lot of subsidence because why? The oil industry came in and they thought it was best practice at the time. They pumped it out and they put fresh water down in the voids to keep the ground from subsiding. The problem was those were ancient salt mines. And now it's dissolving the salt and creating an even worse situation. They should have put salt water down. They didn't know. But again, they had experts come in to try and decide what to do. I look at this, and I could go on ad nauseum for days about finance. I'll tell you right now, we are in deep, deep trouble in this country. I mean, the amount of debt that we have to pay off, and you're only kidding yourself if you think you can approve this and Uncle Sam will pay for it. I don't know where the money's coming from. And I can crunch some numbers, and I have 3 CFOs in my family.
No, sorry to interrupt you, but normally we limit people to 3 minutes. We want to give you the opportunity to speak.
Understood, and I appreciate the time you've given me.
Yes.
I'll wrap
So
up.
I'd ask you to, thank you, sir.
I'll wrap up. You guys need to start to consider things like the debt impact, the infrastructure impact. You know, PennDOT, I don't have a lot of confidence in them. Look at our roads, folks. You know, they told us we were going to get an improvement when we passed the gas tax, and I haven't seen much change. But don't approve so much development in this area that you compromise our water. We're fortunate that our reservoir is a surface reservoir. We don't pull from aquifer for Bethlehem water. And it is a wooded area around there. I can tell you this because I spent some time, and I have a son who has a degree in chemistry, and he's got a master's in chemistry as well, that you can sell me a piece of ground in the Marsalis sale. I wouldn't know that what I was drinking out of there was safe unless I put it through RO. And that was all thanks to the Pennsylvania legislature letting them go up there and frack it. I wouldn't drink it. And I don't think you folks would consciously give it to your grandchildren if somebody went up there and pulled it out of a tap. You don't know what's coming out of there. So slow down. Just whenever somebody comes in here and says, I want to build something, make them defend it. Just because they approved it on the map doesn't mean we have to do it. And I don't think we want to end up like the folks out in the Southwest. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Dave Boulan again. Thanks a lot for a really great meeting. Really appreciate it. Both the engineers, the attorney. We've seen her perform before. Both great. All three of them really solid. The layout of the work that was done over here is just spectacular. Kind of thing I'd expect out of professionals. You guys really come right up here. That's all there is to it. One thing I'd request though, if you're gonna put things on the screen, turn off the side lights, okay? A little hard to see. The other thing would be really helpful is a pointer. I've suggested to the council, sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't. And when I say a pointer, I mean a laser pointer operated by whoever's, giving the presentation. I know it's hard on you guys. You can see his board, but we can't see what's going on unless we sit up here. So that was a request. Hate to say it, but yeah, I read all of the roughly, 74 pages of this thing. They're really great, okay? I love getting them across. Thank you, Molly, I guess that's you. Getting them across an email. A little hard to tell about things like contours and whatever not. I assume, and this is the first meeting I've been here for the planning committee. I realize that you're not fully charged with laying down a law that it's got to go to the council, but believe me, you sort it all out and make it very viable to read and understand, okay? So that's well appreciated. There's no bloviating going on, yada, yada, yada. Anyhow, so the question I guess I'd ask, and I don't know if you can answer these or not, first of all, are these larger layouts available to see if we have questions as the public to come in and look and go, oh yeah, they're 2-foot contours, and look, there's a wall here or not here. Your question about the sidewalk was real well put. And I'd be honest with you, I couldn't see it. And I saw it in the written comments, but couldn't see it on the 8.5 by 11s. So that was a question, and I'll ask you later on the side. And the other thing I'd like to know, I'm not sure about who pays for all of the work that the township puts into this, meaning the fire, the police, the water and sewage authority, all of those people and part of their organizations, which are taxpayer funded, are doing all of this work. Is that part of the fee that the applicant will fully refund or not?
I'm not sure how to answer that. There's various fees that are paid for professional services like engineering and legal, but if there's a volunteer fire person, obviously they're not paid for that.
There are review fees that the township has to review drawings and that, and during the process of getting to this stage, that is time invested that they will charge the applicant. But how much it is, I don't know.
Well, I sort of just following up on this gentleman's comments. When I walked in with him, we were talking about it. And the bottom line is he was saying that, the taxpayer in the town gets stuck with these, and the entity here that is going to be a tenant pays no taxes. So the taxpayer gets stuck with it. So anyhow, you guys are way ahead of a lot of the other organizations, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? We have the, I don't have it on here, the approval of last month's minutes. You didn't have the minutes on, okay. All right, so we are done. Thank you, everybody, for coming. You good? Good. There you go.
You made a motion to adjourn, right?
A motion to adjourn.
Okay. Very good.